This video will walk you through the general settings of your Gmail account. First off, we need to open up our Gmail account. Done. Secondly, you can get to your settings actually a couple of different ways, but the way I'm going to show you is by coming up here to the top right corner and hitting this drop down arrow next to this gear icon. And as you hover over that, you can see it says settings, but there's a few other items in here as well. So we want to come on down here and select settings and left click on that. And here we are under the settings general. And right up here at the top, you can display the language that will be shown, and mine by default is English. If you use the phone chat, you can adjust the default country code, maximum page size. This just shows the number of conversations or contacts per page. And if we open up my Gmail in another tab here, this is what we're talking about. Currently mine is set to 50, so if I had 100 of them in here, then it would show 50 on page 1, then a little icon down here or up here that says go to page 2 or the next page. Or we can adjust that all the way up to 100. I myself, in my other more active accounts, I would show 100. That way I just have more on the page that I can navigate through. Likewise with contacts per page. External content. Gmail tends to restrict showing images, for example, because some hackers will use images as a way to inject Trojans or malicious code into your Gmail account. And as such, Gmail will by default not show a lot of images until you tell Gmail otherwise. With this checked, Gmail already has a list of trusted senders, and you want to learn more, you can just click on that link there, that they do show those images, like Ford or General Motors and such. But if you don't want that, then you can always just tick this box here, ask before displaying external content. This is probably a more safe way, but this is the default and really isn't that bad. Totally up to you. Browser connection. Always use HTTPS, and in the settings that I have right now, that is the only option available to me. And you can also click here to learn more about that. But as it says here under my particular settings, to adjust this out of using HTTPS always, I'd have to do so through my browser settings. Default reply behavior. Both the default reply behavior and the default text styles are just that, defaults. You can make further adjustments in the emails themselves, but if you don't want to make adjustments there, you can adjust the default settings right here. Conversation view. I prefer this to be on. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. If we come up here to my emails, you can see right here, there's a number 2 right here in this particular email that I've received. That means that there are 2 conversations taking place related to this same email. If we open this up, we can see that both of those conversations are in this same box. And that's because conversation view is on. If this were off, then these 2 emails would be separate emails. That can be rather confusing, especially if you have a lot of conversations in your various emails. You'd have to go through and hunt those down to be able to see them all, similar to that of a threaded conversation or comments section in a blog. So for me, conversation view should always be on. Again, another personal preference. As you'll find, that's the case with a lot of the stuff in here, just personal preferences. Send and archive. I have this as show on mine, but you can hide that as well. Stars. Stars and important, these guys here, are pretty much the same thing insofar as a way to organize your emails, and by default you only have the 1 gold star or yellow star. You can adjust this by adding 4 stars to choose from or all stars to choose from. I myself do not use this option. I use labels instead. Desktop notification. Pretty self-explanatory there. You also, if it's set up, have a desktop notification for chats as well as those for your emails. Keyboard shortcuts. By default, with the keyboard shortcuts being turned off, you still have access to some of the basic keyboard shortcuts within your Gmail account, but there are some more advanced shortcuts that are not enabled. That to get them enabled, you can learn more about that here. And you would just check this radio button here. Button labels. Right now they're on icons. If you come on up here, you can see these are the icons that I'm referring to. If you wanted those to be listed as text instead, and you would just check that radio button. And then instead of this being an icon for archive, it would actually say archive. Likewise with this one, it would say report spam instead of having the icon there. Basically the default setting, you get both. You hover over this and you have the icon and the text. And if you want to include an image of yourself or an image period in all the emails that you send out, this is where you go to do that. The people widget. If you want to have information about that person that you're receiving email from showing up over here on the right, then this is the radio button you want checked. And by default, that's what it is. And if you want to hide that, then you can just check that radio button. And like with many of these other ones here, you can just click on the Learn More option to find out more details about this particular feature. Create contacts for autocomplete. By default, Gmail automatically adds these to your contacts list. If you don't want that, then you can just check that radio button there and just add them yourself. I myself prefer that this be automatic. That way I can always delete those automatically added contents, but I may not always remember to add those contacts. And that's why I prefer it to be automatic. Important signals for ads. You can adjust that however you want. Signature, this is pretty important. Right now, by default, no signature is checked. If you want to add a signature, you can put in here whatever you want, and every time you send out an email, this is going to be your default signature. For example, if you want to put in here a couple of your website URLs and maybe some catch line, whatever you want to put in here, it's totally up to you, and you've got these formatting options as well. Personal level indicators. Play around with this as much as you want to see if this is an item that you want to be activated. And under snippets, I prefer to have snippets shown. It just gives me a little bit more of an idea as to what I might be looking at in that email. And if it's something that's not too important based on the snippet that I see, then I can always just skip that and come back to it later. Vacation responder. This can come in pretty handy. Pretty self-explanatory. If you plan on being away from your Gmail account for any length of time, then you can put in an autoresponder of sorts that will go out to the people that send you emails saying basically whatever you want to put in here. I'm on vacation right now. I'll get back to you as soon as I get back. And outgoing message encoding. I would just leave this at default unless you find the need to change this. But more times than not, the default setting is the way you should go. And then any adjustments you make here, be sure to click on Save Changes. Otherwise, they're not going to take. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video on your General Settings tab in your Gmail account. Thanks for watching, and you have a great day.